right, guys. Last live stream. Can you tell it's the last live stream? I can't even talk right off the top. Before the bye week, before I go to Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, and of course, Oslo, Norway. Come on, Bobby. I know you can do it. Welcome inside the channel. As always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. I'm Bobby Trosset. Tonight's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. I'm less than an hour away from hopping in the car, popping over to BWI, and hitting Stockholm, Sweden, and Oslo, Norway for my bye-week getaway. It's an annual excursion that I try to take just to reset, get away from the game a little bit, and obviously this daily grind that goes into football season on a daily basis. So with that, here's what I have coming up before all that takes place. Some takeaways from John Harbaugh's press conference, including how we handled questions related to Diontae Johnson. That ongoing strange situation took yet another strange turn. Potential O-line changes. We'll talk about what he had to say related to those. Jay Feely pinpoints the key difference in his mind on Justin Tucker's kicks, and a whole lot more is what I have coming up on this episode. So glad you can be with me. And here's where I want to begin. First and foremost, this is a team right now whose weakness is undoubtedly special teams. We are living in an era of Ravens football in which a significant weakness is special teams. And as Jonas Schaefer noted on X, here are some reasons as to why. They rank 24th in special teams DVOA, which ranks overall performance, efficiency, things of that nature. So through 13 weeks, the Ravens rank 24th in special teams. In terms of individual rankings, field goals and extra points, they're 28th. Don't worry, we're going to get to Justin Tucker in just a second. Kickoffs, 22nd. Kickoff returns, 17th. Punts, 8th, even though Jordan Stout had a rough night yesterday. And punt returns, 18th. The Ravens finished the past 3 seasons ranked 1st, 3rd, and 3rd overall, respectively, in this same overall metric. Again, it is special teams DVOA. This is a weakness thus far, and this is who they've become through 13 weeks of football. And of course, Justin Tucker is at the forefront of all of this. In the Ravens' 5 losses so far this season, 22 points has been the combined amount that they've lost by in those 5 losses. In those same games, Justin Tucker has racked up 22 points of missed kicks alone in those 5 losses. Just a short while ago, John Harbaugh was asked about this entire situation, as he has been for weeks.
Brain, you think about everything, because that's a big deal, obviously, and we all know it. Justin knows it too. I mean, points were at a premium in the game. They have been a few of these games, and sometimes we haven't made the most of our opportunity to score points because, you're making kicks. And so, and Justin expects to make every kick, no matter how far it is or what the situation is, and those are makeable kicks for him. So, yeah, we're racking our brains, talking to Justin, looking at what we're doing. I'm very confident that it's going to get fixed. I believe it will. It has to, and he's the guy to get it fixed. So, sometimes you respect the player and you respect his ability to get it worked out. And with help from the coaching, from Randy and from Chris, I feel confident that I'll get done.
Do you feel like is it a physical thing or a mental thing or maybe a combination of both? After maybe missing an extra point, maybe that leads into the next kick.
Yeah, I mean, all those things I think all those things are part of it. Sure, it's like not simple. It's not like a one. If it was a one fixed thing, it would be easy. It's definitely not. He's kicking really well in practice. He's kicking really well in practice. He's kicking really well in pregame. So that the physical ability's there. It's just a matter of doing it. It's just that's what he said to me this morning. I know what I have to do. I just have to do it in those situations. So that's what it really boils down to.
John,
you've mentioned your approach with Justin, that you believe it's wise to stick with him. Do you believe there's any merits to bringing in another kicker, at least to have him on the practice squad, maybe to work out guys, and because you guys haven't had to look at kickers in a long time?
Right. Yeah. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that. I wouldn't want it to be a message or anything like that, other than the fact that you want to turn over every stone and make sure you've seen all the guys at every position. If there were guys out there that Randy looked at and our scouts looked at and said that was something that we should do, we would do it. But I don't think that's the answer. Knowing, from what I've talked to Randy and the scouts, knowing who's out there right now. It's not to say there aren't guys capable, but there's nobody nearly as good as Justin Tucker out there.
I don't disagree with that. I would love to see two things happen between now and the culmination of the bye week. One, Justin to take his own getaway, reset himself, whether that's traveling, whether that's getting out of town, whether that is getting away from the building, whatever he needs to do to reset himself. One. And two, I do think that they should bring in somebody for the practice squad. Bring somebody in the building, have his presence be felt. You're going to hear from Jay Feely, current kicking analyst, current broadcaster, former NFL kicker who disagrees with this. It worked for Matt Stover back in the Brian Billick days. Bring someone in, even if it's not your intention, to replace Justin Tucker. Have him in the building. Allow his presence to be felt. You heard there from Harbs, though. He said it's not a one-fix thing with Justin, and noted that he's kicking really well in practice and kicking very well in pregame. He also met with Justin this morning, and Justin told him that he knows what he has to do. He has to just do it. And that's been a major, major issue for him, doing it so far this season. He has 10 missed kicks, 2 extra points, and 8 field goals, and absolutely was the difference in last night's Week 13 outcome. Ravens lost 24-19. Justin Tucker left 7 points out on the board. As far as what former NFL kicker Jay Feely told Glenn Clark Radio earlier today, here's the slide, but listen to Jay himself, and then we'll break it down.
Bringing in competition. What? Okay, like what?
No.
Okay, all right. Tell me.
No,
Take me through.
bringing in competition will do. Yeah, bringing in competition will do nothing to fix Justin Tucker.
Okay.
That will not in any way benefit him or help him. Harbaugh going up to him on the sidelines, hugging him, telling him how much I believe him, that will help him. But you're right, because his entire career he's been able to have that outer shell, like I'm invincible. No one can defeat me. I'm not going to miss, and going out there with that confidence. And for the first time, that shell is cracked, and he's got to figure out a way to fix it. And I do think having a bye week, getting fresh, getting healthy, and getting away a little bit. But to me, I think he's going to practice more. I think he's going to focus on fixing it. It's not like, hey, I'm just going to forget kicking and I'm going to go away, which a lot of times you do on your bye week. Just don't even think about football. I think it's different. I think it's, hey, let's really dive in and look at why am I not hitting the ball cleanly like I normally do, and what can I do technically to fix this? And, they have the staff there to be able to help him. And I think, that's the only thing. And making a big kick, making a game winner, a clutch kick, those can go a long way to, like, helping that confidence and getting back to where you were.
Okay, just a couple different things there, and there's more to the clip that I'll play for you in just a second. One, there is no evidence that Justin is hurt. There's nothing on that. So when he says, like, go use the bye week to get healthy, he's inferring, he's speculating that Justin may be unhealthy, which, again, there is nothing that indicates that. One. Two, I think he's speaking from his personal perspective. Maybe he has a relationship with Justin. But it felt like to me, based on listening to the entire interview, again, courtesy of my friend Glenn Clark on the Glenn Clark radio program earlier today, Jay was adamant. Bringing someone in is not going to fix Justin. How does he know that? What if it snaps him out of it? What if it creates a sense of urgency? How does he know that? I think they absolutely have to bring somebody in. I'm not saying cut Justin. I'm not saying start somebody immediately. Bring someone in as a contingency plan, as an emergency case plan B. You owe that. That John Harbaugh has an obligation to the organization, has an obligation to his players to do that. So I lost Jay on that, but here's the interesting part technique-wise.
Because it looks like to me, just watching ball flight, that his toes coming up a little earlier and making contact with the ball a little bit too soon. So while you're getting those hooks to the left with a little bit of the bad ball flight, those are just the things that you look at that I think you can go back and say, hey, here's a couple of the things that we need to really focus on so that we can try to get you back to kicking the way you always have.
Okay, so that's the interesting part right there. Quote, the thing that is different is the ball flight. It's not straight end over end, but more of the oblong butterfly ball. And because it's hooking left, he'll aim right and then hits it end over end. He's hoping, not knowing. That, to me, is the interesting part of the technique observations that I give a lot of weight to. That's the observation as a former kicker that intrigues me the most. And that feels like it's fixable. What's indisputable is that Justin has cost this team multiple games so far this season. And now, as a result, Lamar is off to his worst win-loss record through 13 games of his career. The Ravens are 8-5. They're a game and a half out for first place in the AFC North. The division is absolutely still up for grabs, particularly given the degree of difficulty with which the Steelers finished their regular season. Here's Bill Belichick on the conversation.
The way that Coach Harbaugh is handling it. When I look at Tucker, I don't see a lack of talent. He still has great height on the ball. The ball, travels with plenty of distance. Clearly, there's some fundamental technique thing that he's not doing consistently, and that's caused him to miss both to the left and to the right. So I think, what I would do is keep working on the fundamentals and the technique of the kick. I don't think there's a lack of talent. I think it's fundamentally there's just something that's not quite right here. And I'm sure that Justin and Coach Harbaugh and the whole operation, the holder, the snapper, are all trying to get this down. I think he's definitely capable of doing it, but like you said, there's nobody else out there that has more experience or has mentally been in more situations than Tucker has. I think I would go with Tucker.
So Bill Belichick's riding with Justin Tucker, but which one is it here? Jay Feely says, as you just saw on the previous slide, that he's observing that there's difference in the ball flight. It's not straight end over end, but more of the oblong butterfly ball. Whereas Bill Belichick's saying he still has great height on the ball. The ball travels with plenty of distance. There's nobody else out there that has no more experience or has mentally been in more situations than Tucker has. I think I would go with Tucker. And I'm not saying not to go with Tucker. I'm saying bring somebody in. And by the way, I'm probably going to take Jay Feely's analysis in terms of his study of the ball flight, the ball height, the distance, the technique, things of that nature over Bill. But I continue to think that if the Ravens bring in a kicker between now and week 15, coming off the bye, even if they don't have any plans to use him, maybe, just maybe, that provides some sort of spark that wakes up something internally within Justin Tucker, creates some sort of sense of urgency. Dan Orlovsky said it best earlier today. You absolutely owe it to your team if you're John Harbaugh. You owe it to the staff. You owe it to the folks that are suiting up for you. And of course, you owe it to Lamar Jackson, who's in the middle of his prime years right now. And prior to 2 weeks ago, maybe even 24 hours ago, he was a bona fide front-runner candidate for MVP. 2 clunkers in the last 3 weeks, one of which came in Pittsburgh, the other of which, of course, was yesterday against Philadelphia. I'd go as far as to say that Lamar's MV3 candidacy has come to a screeching halt, barring something unforeseen, especially because of what Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills did last night to San Francisco in a blizzard in Western New York. The 2 things that I would really love to see, just to reiterate once more: 1, bring somebody in and sign him to the practice squad this week. And 2, Justin, do whatever it's possible, whatever it takes to reset yourself, get yourself in a mind frame, get yourself out of town that'll allow for a complete reset so that you can get back to what you once were, which was and maybe still is the greatest kicker in the history of this sport. He's lost that title in terms of most accurate, and he's certainly lost his mojo as of right now, and may just straight up be dealing with the yips. It's a career high misses, 10 missed kicks, 8 of which have been field goals, 2 of which have been PATs. That is the situation that the Ravens find themselves in right now with number 9. This afternoon's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And it was just yesterday that I jam-packed the Bobby Baltimore Bronco, my Bronco Sport, with the Bobby Baltimore decal on the back that I've been driving around in the last 14 months. And what an awesome experience that's been. Can't recommend it enough. Super spacious, heated seats this time of year, good on gas. All the seats come down in the back. Tilly can spread out, stretch your legs, be super comfortable. It fits. I think it's super spacious and long, but yet it still fits in my parking pad in Canton, which is great. And the best part is, for you guys as a Bobby Baltimore subscriber, you receive 2 exclusive offers. The first is $500 towards a newer pre-owned vehicle at Preston, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available, and you'll be joining the Preston team along with myself, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, tight end Mark Andrews, and many more throughout Baltimore and beyond. It's an honor to be a brand ambassador for Preston. Cars cost less with them. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com, or just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner as you see on the screen right now. That'll take you to where you need to be. Matter of fact, that'll take you right here. And you can click on the link that's included as a pinned comment in the live chat, and that brings you specifically to my page where you can contact the folks at Preston super easily. You can search by make, model, or keyword their inventory selection. And when you work with them, this awesome feature exists. You go to service and parts, schedule mobile service, and they will come to you. A technician will come to you. Right before I traveled north for the holiday, they sent someone down to Canton, and literally in under 30 minutes, I had a bulb replaced on the back of the car, oil change done, tires rotated, super efficient, super easy to work with, very professional. And I'd like to thank once more Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of this channel. You can go check them out by visiting the show notes or clicking on that link that is a pinned comment right now in the live chat. Well, I'll tell you what, just when you thought it couldn't get any more strange with this situation regarding Diontae Johnson and the Ravens, it takes yet another turn, as we just learned a short while ago when John Harbaugh gave his weekly Monday press conference entering the bye week. Of course, the Ravens sit at 8-5 with the New York Giants looming after the bye, and that'll begin a 10-day stretch in which they'll play 3 games. It's the Giants. It's round 2 of the rivalry at home against the Steelers, followed by the Houston Texans down in their place on Christmas afternoon. Now, last month, the Ravens made 2 acquisitions prior to the NFL trade deadline, one of which was bringing in former Steeler who spent the beginning of this year in Carolina, and that is Diontae Johnson. Diontae is a man beater. He is a silky route runner. He understands AFC North football. He just in recent years has shown he's still got a lot left in the tank, and he's nowhere near 30 yet. Obviously, you would have thought he'd want a change of scenery and get out of Carolina, which is exactly what he got when the Panthers dealt him for essentially nothing to the Ravens. Well, we now sit here just a month later in a situation where this is becoming so obscure, so strange, so vague that it begs the question, what is going on behind closed doors between Diontae and the Ravens? Chronological order here will go after the Eagles game when John Harbaugh was asked, hey, why did Diontae log 1 snap tonight, especially since Rashad Bateman left the game with a knee injury and wouldn't return? Harb said this last night.
Rashad Bateman went off a knee injury. Is Diontae Johnson available? I know he didn't look like he played.
Yeah, I'm not really ready to comment on that right now. I will be. Just don't have enough information right now to talk about that.
So that was last night, and the Ravens sure could have used him. I don't know if it would have changed the ultimate outcome of the game, but when Rashad Bateman goes down, you would think that was one of the reasons why Diontae was brought in the first place. Zay and Rashad, their snaps aren't going to be compromised. They're not going to be pushed aside at this point, especially with the years that each of those dudes are having respectively. But, knock on wood, if one of them were to go down, as Rashad did yesterday, what a great piece of insurance. Yet, Tylan Wallace, and all due respect to Tylan Wallace and Nelson Aguilar each got 40 snaps. And so it kind of begged the question again, what is happening? That's exactly what reporters right off the top of John Harbaugh's press conference followed up on earlier this afternoon and didn't get very far.
I know we asked about Diontae Johnson after the game. Is there any other clarification you can give with that?
Right. At this time, I'm going to have to wait. Just to clarify, there's some moving parts there that we're going to have to figure out and explore and just see where we're at. I know it's not the answer you want, but it's the best I can do in fairness to everybody right now.
I got to tell you, assuming that this is becoming a situation, the Ravens are an 8-5 football team who've been through plenty of tumultuous times, seemingly, through 13 weeks of football. I don't know if there's another team league-wide who needs a bye week more than this group does. And I'm not just talking about the physical side of things, the physical boost that a bye week gives you. I know Kyle Van Noy certainly is banking on that. I would imagine Lamar would really benefit for that. Rashad Bateman will now benefit from that. But I'm just talking about spiritually. I'm talking about psychologically. Clarity. This bye week is absolutely paramount to the final stretch of this season and ultimately what will be defined of the 2024-2025 Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh continues to be very vague and cryptic as it relates to Diontae Johnson and his lack of involvement. The second quote from today, after Jamison Hensley and other reporters followed up. Quote, at this time, I'm going to have to wait. There's some moving parts there that we're going to have to figure out and explore. I know that's not the answer you want, but it's the best I can do in fairness to everybody right now. One thing I do know is that there has not been an instant connection between Lamar Jackson and Diontae Johnson. Last time I checked, Lamar is just 1 for 5 when targeting Diontae and certainly forced 1 or 2 of those 5, particularly against his former team in Pittsburgh. This feels like it's becoming a little bit of a situation. And I don't want to say it's eerily familiar or eerily similar to what took place over a month ago with Marcus Williams, which has made him a non-factor in this defensive lineup and resulted in a benching and the promotion of Ardarius Washington and the adjustment of Kyle Hamilton moving back to traditional safety. But between Marcus and a highly publicized benching, between Eddie Jackson not traveling to Pittsburgh and then being waived not long thereafter, between the defensive issues with first-year coordinator Zach Orr, which feels as if that's been a lifetime ago, given how much has transpired since, and really because the defense has started to round out into form as a result of some coverage and reliability and dependability from that back end and having Kyle and Ardarius out there. This just feels like a lot to overcome for the Ravens. It feels as if there's a lot happening internally. You think about Marlon Humphrey and his comments, making it clear that in his post-game conversation yesterday with reporters, he was quoted for saying, and I'll pull it up right now, the message kind of became a little bit clearer. If you want to play ball, then we'll get you out there. But if you don't, you have to sit on the sideline. And while he doesn't specifically mention anybody, Marlon has been very vocal, very outspoken as the longest tenured defensive Raven. And whether that's aimed at whether that's aimed at Marcus Williams or not, it just feels as if things have been very, very unsteady, unsettled. And yet the Ravens still have everything in front of them, even with all that adversity. The division is still absolutely up for grabs. And it's a favorable schedule down the stretch. Maybe not the amount of games that are going to be played within a 10-day stretch, but the opponents. I like the way this is setting up for the Ravens, particularly given, again, the degree of difficulty for the Pittsburgh Steelers down the stretch. How does Lamar feel about this? I mean, this is one less playmaker that's at his disposal, at least for the time being.
I think we saw Diontae out there. John was asked about it and didn't give a reason, said he needs more information. For you, though, I mean, do you have a conversation with Diontae to make sure that he stays locked in and knows that there's a role for him moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. We want him out there. You know, he's a great receiver. We didn't get him from the Panthers for nothing. I don't think so.
Well, you almost got him for nothing. It was essentially nothing. It was essentially free. Diontae Johnson being acquired prior to the deadline along with Tre'Davious White. Now, of course, it was a very underwhelming deadline given some of the Ravens' pressing needs then and, of course, now. We're about to talk about the offensive line in just a bit, and if there's any necessity there, I think it's change between now and December 15th, especially after watching the tape and looking at the statistics that came along with this loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, which is where we're going to go right now. And True Media has it all. The Ravens have allowed a 40% plus pressure rate in 4 games this season as an offensive line. 3 of the 4 have gone down as losses to Cleveland, to Pittsburgh, to Philadelphia, all of which was over 40%. 40 exact in Pittsburgh, 50 in Cleveland, and 56.8. Again, this is pressure rate allowed by the offensive line. The only win was against Cincinnati, wasn't exactly a nice number, 42.6%. And Jonas's note as well, Philly didn't even need to blitz much. Just a 13.6% rate. And if you're Vic Fangio, why would you have? Your 4-man rushes were getting home. They were creating havoc. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, a 2-man monster. And the Ravens' offensive line got bullied, particularly in that second half. Despite all of that, when John Harbaugh was asked about potential changes that could be coming to his offensive line, this is what he had to say.
I think we're pretty well set there. I think those guys could come in, the other guys that are working hard could come in and help us, but I'm not down on anybody in the offensive line. That's a really good front we played against. I think we could have played better, especially in pass protection. Those guys would tell you that it could have been better, even in the run blocking sometimes, for sure. But I don't think it merits any drastic changes right now, other than the fact that, Josh goes in there sometimes in the extra O-line. He could have a chance. Ben, I think he goes in there extra O-line. I think he'd play well if he went in there. But I like the way the offensive line has played over the last number of weeks.
Well, it's not that I don't. It's that there are specific positions where I think some wear and tear is taking place. And there's some simple fixes that can be had to go along with those specific positions, one of which is left guard. Patrick McCary is the most penalized offensive player across the entire league. Yesterday, he had 9 pressures allowed. Ronnie Stanley had 4, Fa'alele and Linderbaum had 2 apiece. Rosengarten had 1 and was the highest graded Raven from a PFF perspective. A simple fix here would be, assuming that he's healthy, giving Andrew Voorhees another shot to get back involved at left guard. Or what about Ben Cleveland? There are times where this offensive line has made great strides. And there are other times which this statistic represents where it goes up against elite defensive fronts and the results continue to be in the other team's favor. When the Ravens go up against elite defensive fronts, they have not yet proven to consistently be able to win in the trenches, win at the point of attack, win against the run, win in terms of disciplined football. That was not an issue yesterday against Philadelphia. But I'm talking about the full body of work through 13 games. This is an area, if you are John Harbaugh, that you are evaluating hard. You have to. But you heard what he said. Quote, I don't think it merits any changes right now. He said Philly has a really good defensive line, and the Ravens' offensive line struggled at times, but he likes the way the group is played by and large. It's not that that's untrue. This group has played well. But the trend that's undeniable is against these elite defensive fronts. The Pittsburghs, the Philadelphias, the Clevelands. Ravens' offensive line has not held up and absolutely been part of the factor, if not the factor, in those losses. Cleveland, Vegas, Pittsburgh. As for some other notes that came out of this Monday press conference, I know some of you are probably wondering about Rashad Bateman. Harbaugh said that he was getting treatment on his sore knee today. He does not think it's going to be a long-term issue. He's certainly going to be one of those guys to benefit from the upcoming bye week. As for Arthur Maulet, who's been banged up all year long with several, or I guess a couple different IR stints, his status is up in the air. He's not sure whether he's an option to return later or not. Odafe Owe was very limited snap count-wise yesterday, which Harbaugh referred to as a result of it being more of a run game, and that Tavius Robinson played really well against the run, which he did. I thought Tavius was a standout player for them. Keaton Mitchell being inactive was a special teams decision. Rasheen Ali, the rookie 5th rounder out of Marshall, got the call, had a 39-yard return at one point, put the Ravens in an opportunity for some good field position. I find it hard to believe that there are people out there that don't feel like the Ravens got manhandled in this game. Should they have won it? Sure, you can have that argument. Justin left 7 points off the board. But the Ravens recovered, luckily, 4 of their own fumbles. Philadelphia bullied them. And this can be a trend that we'll see in losses over the last year plus, whether it be Kansas City, whether it be Pittsburgh, whether it be Cleveland. Sometimes the Ravens have been subject to allowing the bully to out-bully the bully. We've seen it. And in a sense, we saw it in that second half where the Ravens, aside from a garbage time touchdown, were pretty darn close to being shut out. Scott hits me with a super chat donation and says the Ravens could be 11-2 or better if Justin Tucker made his kicks. The narrative would be we've had a few ugly wins, not the, quote, what's wrong with the Ravens. I think that's a good point. It's absolutely a good point. Justin, as he has in the past, on the flip side, has been responsible for multiple losses so far this year, and I think it would really behoove the Ravens to bring someone in between now and the 15th to establish at least an emergency plan, an emergency backup plan. Thanks for the super chat, Scott. I appreciate it. Over 850 of you joining me concurrently right now on this Monday, December 2nd, leading into the bye. The Ravens will be back in the building as a team a week from today. And then they will travel to the New York Giants coming up on the 15th, which again will begin a 3-game stretch over 10 days. Giants, Steelers, and Texans. I have to get to BWI for my flight. I'm heading out to Stockholm, Sweden. You can connect with me and follow along with my travels, as you always can, on Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. I'll be updating daily. So I look forward to connecting with you guys there if you don't already. You can also find me on Twitter or X at Bobby Baltimore. You can donate to the channel or to the upcoming travels by hitting me up at Venmo or Cash App, or the YouTube Super Chat feature is always a great way to do so as well. A special thank you to Preston Automotive Group for sponsoring this episode. I know I haven't opened up the lines in a while. I did yesterday on the pregame show, but it was pretty loud out there at the Be More Around Town tailgate. So I do owe you when I get back. There will not be any content being populated on the channel this week. Sarah will, of course, hold down the fort over on the vault. So I hope you guys enjoy your bye weeks. I hope you enjoy the official beginning to the month of December. That holiday magic is certainly in the air. And let's see what Stockholm, Sweden's all about, huh? Little red eye through the night, layover in Reykjavik, Iceland. Then off to Stockholm, training off to Oslo, Norway. A skiing day is going to be sprinkled in there as well. Who knows what else? Some museums. Not bringing my laptop. I brought all my equipment over to Rome last year. We did Austria, and then when I got back to Rome, I did a remote week with a 6-hour time difference or a 5-hour time difference. I'm not doing that this time. And it is cold as shit. Yeah. 410 Clout Kings, it is cold as shit over there. I got some lined pants, thermal underwear. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Excited about it. So with that, thank you guys, as always, for all the support. We are 13 weeks down on this NFL regular season, and obviously you got a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth going into the bye week, but there will be plenty more to do and say about this team. And what better time to have a bye week? They desperately need this bye week, and they understand what's at stake and what needs to get done during this bye week, starting now, treatment-wise. The mind, body, and spirit, Jesuit educated. So anyway, all that and more. Have a great week, guys. I'm going to sleep like a baby. I haven't slept in like multiple days, which is why my English has not been great throughout this live stream. But what I can promise you is that Sarah's going to hold down the fort. You can go check out our work over on the vault. Please subscribe on your way out. Like the channel if you haven't already done so. I should say like the video. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. And follow along with me over the next week or so at Bobby Baltimore across all platforms. I'll try and be active in the Discord. Would love for you guys to join in on there. Got over 600 members and counting. And I'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks again.